Hello and welcome to Season 4, Episode 6 of the Press Box in association with the unit. We're coming to you a little later than planned this week. As we said, we'd wait until after Dundalk's Leinster Senior Cup quarter-final tie with St Mochta on Tuesday night in the hope that we would have a win to talk about. Needless to say, that didn't go to plan as a 2-0 defeat in Clonsilla last night added to Stephen O'Donnell's woes. Tonight, we're going to be looking back at that game, the 0-0 draw with Waterford on Friday night, and ahead to a triple header of matches after the international break, as well as where we're discussing where we and potentially our manager goes from here. But firstly, last night, beaten 2-0 by St Mochta, and I know we were even kind of texting, obviously, like we were going down to it last night, and genuinely, I was like, okay, well, at least we're going to get a win here. We're going to see a few lads getting goals, including maybe the likes of Cammy Elliott, see the likes of a John Mountney play and stuff. And that was one of the reasons why I was going down to see some of the other lads kind of get a few minutes and stuff. But neither happened. And as you'll probably go into more detail, but we were just outplayed, outclassed, outworked, everything by a Leinster Senior League team. And I know you were saying to me last night as well, when we're looking at them, bar maybe some of their boys having bigger bellies than me, you wouldn't be able to tell who the League of Ireland club was in that sense, because they just absolutely had more grit, more determination, and you could kind of see the tactics and what they were doing, and we just had nothing. So I'll move this over to you without kind of going off on too much of a tangent.
No, but I'm actually going to ask you to because, like, having been at the game with you, you were proper fuming. Like, you were, um, I was sort of in, I don't know, stunned disbelief or whatever. But, um, you were like at one point, I think you marched down the line to have a look at the bench or something, or
See
it
what they
really
were
annoyed
at.
you.
I was
Like,
like, well, we're just being battered here. Like I was like, that's because you couldn't see at the where we were standing actually what the management team were doing. And I was like, I just went down and seen the lads kind of just sitting on the box and O'Donnell just standing there. And this was probably 60, 70, 80 minutes in when it was just had all fallen apart. And, I just wanted to see kind of what their actions were and stuff like that. And like, even I was on our press box Twitter last night, and like, again, time wise, I'm terrible at remembering these things, but I remember at this stage we were 2-0 down, and on comes our 15-year-old centre back. And no disrespect to him, because he actually came on and did okay, to give him his due, Leonard. But I remember thinking, what's going on here? Why, like, now, subsequently, we didn't really have many attacking options or experience on the bench, which is an option, which would have been a good option to come on against the team. But ultimately, and we reference guys, even like young lads like Mulligan, Keogh, who else was there? Even McLaughlin pulled one off the line. The younger lads did okay in the grand scheme of things. They weren't giving away balls aimlessly, but Paul Doyle should have been pulled after about 30 minutes. Appalling stuff. Giving the balls away. Even the second goal, he literally just passed to the Mockers player. Reminded me of like a Premier League game. I think Gerrard did that to Henry one of the years, and it was just awful. But it was even like there was three international lads there. Was it Ida, Brady, and whoever, and
Doherty.
Doherty. Like Darrell Horgan was playing with these boys a year or two ago, deservedly so as well. But like Horgan, O'Kane, Mahon, like senior pros, looked way off it. Offered nothing. Like we just they had a number. Their two centre backs were outstanding. And again, you go back to the point, like I was angry because it wasn't good enough. Whether it was our tactics, our determination, the squad, like ultimately, when I seen the squad, I was shocked to see John Mountney not in it, because I was like, well, if he's playing under 20s, he can clearly play. This is a perfect game, and nothing game in particular. Like there was nothing to really be gained by it, but all to lose as we lost. But like, so even with that, if I was a man under pressure, not a team in a team not scoring goals, having one goal all season, I would have played the likes of a Cammy Elliott up top, or actually, to be fair to Owen Kenny, I would have played him actually, because I was always advocating for him. But like, I would have gone a bit stronger, and just on the off chance, just had two or three pros on the bench that could change something. Maybe put the fear of God and the Mochtas lads if they were coming on. But it was nothing. We were throwing on younger lads than the Mochtas boys. And it was just, I have to say, it was like, you don't want to get into his jobs and all that. But like, I was sitting, I was angry. And then towards the end, I was like, this is it. Like, we talk about the likes of like Shells and Drogheda and all that coming up. And I like, I know you had pieces saying like, oh, O'Donnell, he's happy where we're going, and he was happy with his selection and stuff. And again, ultimately, you have to come out and
That's his words, not mine.
no. Sorry, yeah, but like that's what he said. But I'm just looking at that going, stop, will you? Like, it's not going well, and I was sad that towards the end, like I was fuming because I just felt the effort was terrible and everything wasn't coming off. We were very sloppy. Um, with no transition. You didn't know how we were playing, what we were trying to do. We didn't get any balls majorly into the box without them clearing straight away. We could have, honestly, to give Monroe actually credit, he kept us in the game. He made 2 or 3 really, really good stops, and Tom McLaughlin pulled one off the line. But this is a fucking Leinster Senior like league team. Like, again, you do that against Shamrock Rovers, fair enough. These are League of Ireland champions in European football, etc. They're a good side. These lads are all, finishing on the building sites and coming up and playing it. Like, that's not good enough, and that's where the questions and stuff do need to be asked of where we're going. Like, again, through the season, we've all seen games that, like, you were even saying the Waterford game, and again, through the highlights, it's very hard to see, but we had chances, Durant had a good few, but like, try to make things happen. But I just don't know where it's going. And that's my fear. Like, again, we're what, 5, 6 games in now, with Shells, Drogheda and Pats, and then Bows even, I think. And we're looking at 4 teams here. Where are we getting points? Like, plural. We might grab a point somewhere. I don't know, sit at the back and, for God, just not concede. But like, we're just not scoring. We're not creating. And again, we weren't creating against a Leinster Senior League team. And I'm sorry, it wasn't a team full of kids. There was kids in it, but we had a lot of senior players in. I just thought Doyle was appalling of all of them. Absolutely appalling. But I was disappointed even not to see him play a few other lads just to get through the round and build confidence. It doesn't matter if
Yeah,
it's St Mochta or Shamrock Rovers. Go if you get an opportunity and you can win a game, essentially, which we should have. Play the lads, get a win, get a 3-4-0 victory, a bit of confidence back into them, and then we're going into. I know we're playing a friendly against somebody, whether it is this weekend or whenever it is, but like, it builds confidence. And I just thought he was way off the mark, O'Donnell, last night. And I'm fucking angry because I like him and but I do, and you can check the likes of the Twitter reaction and all that stuff, but like, there's lots of people questioning where are we going? And it's the sad thing. I think I'm happy we're doing this now, because it would have just been this is a joke last night. But now I'm in the sad mode to go, well, what are we doing? Like, should we have just relieved them after the Sligo defeat and cut our losses, or are we going to continue? And maybe it turns around, but from what I seen last night and for the last 5 games, it's unlikely to. And then you're going, well, how further on do we take this, that it's a case of we're really in a relegation battle, and if somebody does else come in, they still have to build stuff. You don't just hit the ground running potentially, and then we're in huge fear of relegation. And that's my fear now, forgetting people's jobs and stuff. But as a club, the next 3 or every game is vital, but next 3 or 4 are vital, because that will probably be our first run of games. And if we're bottom on 1 or 2, 3 points, like, we're in serious bother. And last night, it was sad towards the end, because I remember thinking we are way out of depth here.
yeah. Like, ordinarily, I suppose you wouldn't read too much into Leinster Senior Cup. Like, even last year, I suppose we now, admittedly, I think Hayden Muller got sent off early on. That probably influenced it, but we were beaten 4-0 by Shelbourne. in the Leinster Senior Cup last year, and yeah, you'd rather not lose 4-0, but not the end of the world. But I think the worrying thing, and for people that were there, and for maybe people following it online or whatever, it the problems all mirrored what we're seeing in the first team, like that lack of ideas, a lack of intensity, a lack of desire, a lack of togetherness, a lack of creativity. Like, reflecting back on it, like Dean Casey uh got the double for St Mochta's, and like they were brilliant, by the way, just full credit to them. But
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
um like Dean Casey went, like, before he'd broken the deadlock, went through 1-on-1, kicked it straight up Monroe. Monroe made a brilliant save from I think it was Jake Donnelly's free just before half time. He made two really, really good saves late on from point blank range. So that's what a many. And as you mentioned, Tom McLaughlin, I think, had one off the line as well. So, like, it honestly could have been about 6 or 7-0. Whereas reverse that,
Shocking.
and I will give a shout out to Ross Monroe, because he's the only player, I'd say, who came away from that game last night on the Porterstown Road with any sort of credit to his name or whatever. But Adam Hayden in the other goals, listen, I could have been doing goals. Like,
Yeah,
there was
yeah.
nothing. There was nothing of. I think, to be fair, one of their centre halves made a brilliant block to deny Hayden Muller probably our best chance just before half time. Um, but again, a complete. Not alone did we not score, we didn't really ever look like scoring. And again, like, listen, not that I would claim to know much about Leinster Senior League football. There was a time where, maybe covering it a little more in depth, but like Garrett McCaffrey, who he did come off the bench in the end, but he's struggling a bit with I think, a hamstring or problem at the moment. But he's actually the second highest scorer in the Leinster Senior League at the moment with 10 goals. And he also has 3 in the Leinster Senior Cup already this season, including one against Pats. So they beat us well without their best striker, effectively. A guy with League of Ireland experience who has scored against it before when we played against them a few years ago in the FAI Cup. Um, so it's all worrying. And look, I agree we weren't at full strength, but even forget the two part of the scoreline. Like, when you go from, even forget the back four a minute, Doyle, Bradshaw sitting in like in a holding position with Mahan one side, O'Kane the other, Horgan off Kenny, that should be enough to at least create chances, and they basically didn't. They basically didn't. And I was amazed, because I was originally due to not go last night, as you would know, but up until about last Thursday, I was meant to be down the country on Tuesday. I would have missed it. Maybe I'd be better off, but that got cancelled. So I said, look, I'll go. And one of the reasons I was going along was, with no game this coming weekend, I think, I full sure John Mountain he was going to play, and thought, right, well, first game back in 500 odd days or whatever since he last played a sort of competitive match. There's a good story in that. But like him aside, like, you've other players needing minutes. Like, as you mentioned there, I think, could Cammy Elliott do with a goal to boost confidence? Yes. Could even like Kuhn Ostenbrink do it minutes, for a guy who has played very little so far and has been effectively without a club since last May. You know, and now Stephen O'Donnell's argument with that, and I did ask him, had he any regrets over his team selection, was that they've another game this week, I think Friday. He wouldn't even name the opposition who they were playing. So, but whether it
But it's
be,
a nothing friendly. So let's say it's Pats or
yeah,
Derry.
like
Who
that,
cares? But like,
and that's where I'm going. But like I listen, I don't care if it's Key Celtic or Glasgow Celtic. It's not a performance or that will be hugely analysed. People might hear the result, they may not even hear the result, but this is a competitive fixture that will go on your permanent record for all time. And all the players were there, by the way. Well, like, there's a few away on international duty, etc. So, like, even at 0-0 after about 10 minutes, I think old Kenny went down with a bit of an injury, and it looked like he was going to have to come off. Now, thankfully, for him, he was able to play on. But like, we had no striker on the bench. Like there
Yeah.
was, it was badly thought out. And listen, again, you don't want to be going OTT on a Leinster Senior Cup game, but
It
on
was the manner, but it was the manner. I agree with
it's
you. I
but
completely agree with you. But
in the whole context of where we are, because like again, I asked him about, listen, this can't be good for confidence, which is already low, and he denied that. But like they're back in today, for example, for their warm down, and they've just got beaten by a team that, with all due respect to St Mochta and take nothing away from them, you should be beating, you
mm,
should be performing better against. Because, like, if anything, this wasn't a smash and grab. This was a like
oh,
if two nil flatters. As I said there,
absolutely,
could have been
absolutely.
it could have been easily 5 or 6. That's how bad things were, and that can't be good for confidence. And it was, in my opinion, and a massive own goal not to play a stronger side, just to get maybe we would have been bet anyway. To be fair to the young lads, you know, I don't think that's an excuse. With the exception, I think Tom McLaughlin, they're all on professional deals, so they all should be good enough to be there. They all should be, they're training together all the time, and this isn't a new manager just in and he's struggling to get his message across. We're 3 years into a process here, and just because our official game is against Shelbourne, like, they're in a similar period under Damien Duff, and at least you can see a direction it's going. You can
Yeah,
see a growth. You can see patterns. I didn't see it because, like, it was St Mochta's playing all the football last night. We just looked like an absolute team of strangers.
yeah,
And like I say, I think you said it, but like, bar maybe the physiques of a few players, you'd be wondering if you just showed up randomly who the League of Ireland team was, because it certainly didn't look like Dundalk. And yeah, I don't know if a manager's ever lost his job after a Leinster Senior Cup defeat, but it's just added fuel to the fire, and absolute needlessly, because you could have treated that with a bit more respect. Um, but even leaving all that aside, it's another stick to beat him with, and there comes a point where we all hope that it our fortunes change, and maybe we go to Talca Park and get a win or something. But these things stick in the memory. You go back to even the Galway defeat last year in the cup, the 5-0 against Sligo. Even if you, and I said this today to a couple of people, I said, like, if you go to Talca and win, if you go and into the Loud Derby then against Strahda and win, you're maybe a 3-0 defeat away to Derry, which, look, will happen other teams, away from being right back to square one. And but it's even that scenario of getting 6 points from the next three. It just looks laughable at the moment, because the
yeah.
players are just so devoid of anything. Like, they're just like, they look shells of themselves. Like, you mentioned Daryl Horgan there. I don't want to single one player out, because the bar Ross Monroe, I don't think anyone can say I had a good night at the office. But like, you're right, this guy was playing international football not that long ago. Again, with people looking on, and he just looks broken at the minute. And it's not just him. It's not just him. Like, everyone is sort of, um, you know, a little bit down, and again, this isn't the problems aren't necessarily new. If this was a one defeat in isolation, like one of our greatest teams, that won the cup, or won the league, sorry, in 1991 under Turlough O'Connor, and went on an amazing run after a really bad defeat on the opening night. That team went out of the FAI Cup that year to Ashtown Villa. So shock results can happen, but there's a pattern here, there's a trend here, and
Yeah.
it's not a good one.
But that's the thing. Again, I don't mind a bad result. You go, Jesus, but like, none of us can see where this is going, and that's the thing. You have to actually think into the future here. I know we've questions. It's funny. And one of them, it's not actually on our list, but I know Mark Carolan tweeted us just saying, and this is a funny. In fairness, probably the only, to be fair to Mark, maybe the potential defense of O'Donnell is that we'd all hammer him for saying he's not really a youths coach, in the sense of he doesn't play youths, not as actually a youth coach. but he actually rolled the dice with his kind of younger lads, and it didn't come off. So is that like I don't know? Is that in some way a small defense of him that he did actually go out and use some of the young lads? And as one of the points, to be fair, that you said last night when we were talking about it at the game, these lads are all on professional deals. There's no Mochta's players on professional deals. So you're not throwing out, like, even though in fairness, the likes of some of them are still 16, 17, but they are on professional deals. They're not young fellas. But anyway, like, is that a thing to say,
But
well,
you could excuse if, like, for example, like Luke Mulligan probably got now a very good ball, admittedly, but Luke Mulligan probably got done a little bit for the first goal
mm,
where it was played in behind him. But like, if that was just a problem, you'd say, well, that's part of his football and education, and he needs to learn from that, and you'd forgive that. It's the other stuff. It's like, maybe take out three of the back four, the three teenagers, because Hayden Muller started our last couple of league matches, and take out maybe Owen Kenny, who I think you said last week you'd probably have him involved in the first team. But even taking those four out, just the teenagers, like the rest of that side was like, if that started against Shelbourne on paper, there's probably no chance of that happening now. But if that was what was your team, you have two sitting midfielders and you have an ex-Ireland international flanked by two exciting young wingers,
yeah,
you'd be saying, eh, that's not beyond like, and it was just the nothingness of everyone, the way they were bullied, the way they were,
massively
um,
bullied as well. One nothing in the air, second balls, first headers up in the air. The lads, you could hear them roaring, even communication. Something as small as that. There obviously wasn't that many people around. Like, in fairness, I know Mochtas had a lot of lads there, and it was great for the club. Even it was a fiver in, and it was brilliant. It got the club a few pounds, which is deadly. But like, so it was relatively quiet. Let's be honest. It's not a 2,000-3,000 game, but like Dundalk were quiet as mouses. Like, and the only times you did hear them, they were bitching at each other, going, "What are you doing? What are you?" Like, it wasn't. You could see there was no kind of cohesion, and the lads didn't know what. But they were
there's a deeper
bullied.
problem there. There's just a deeper problem there. Like, these lads are disheveled. Like, they're absolutely, and I don't know if this manager can resolve that. Because the problems we have, like, we're skipping ahead slightly, but like, we're going to talk about the upcoming games. Like, you know, was it 2 points we took away to teams above us in the league last season? We've had basically one win against a team that isn't UCD in Dublin under Stephen O'Donnell. We've gone behind in two-thirds of matches. Like, they're all appalling stats. They're all stats that's been, reeled out time and time again. I'm nearly sick of repeating them. But how when you discuss things like that, how can you realistically say, and sometimes people say you're hammering the club, and there's and it's negativity for the sake of negativity. It's not that at all. But there's a thin line between negativity and realism. And
Mm.
as a realist, I don't see how we go to Shelbourne and win. I don't see how we go to Derry and win. And God knows how what happens in the Loud Derby. But that's just where we're at right now. And I'm not alone in those thoughts. I know that for a fact. But do the players believe it? Because they certainly don't look it. And there's a deep. It's like anything. I was to put an analogy on it. Like, if I had a leak in my house and I call a plumber to fix it, and it starts leaking again 10 minutes later, I'll probably give him another shout and say, "Listen, mate, this isn't resolved." If
Yeah,
it then leaks another half an hour later, maybe you even give him another go at it. But if it leaks again, you're just saying, "I'm calling another plumber,"
yeah.
because you do not know how to fix this. And it increasingly looks like, and I like Stephen O'Donnell, a lot of respect for him. He was an absolute legend at the club as a player. That contribution will never be forgotten. I do have sympathy for him too, because he, in my opinion, was absolutely sold a pup, sold a dream when he came here, that was never, I think he certainly season one upheld his end of the bargain. I think that the owner certainly didn't. Um, and recruitment has been difficult because not just this season, but in previous seasons, because of the off-field messes that the club has had, and even in this season, the stalemate we had over, like, we literally had a couple of weeks there we couldn't sign anyone. 2 years in a row were the last to sign anyone in the league, and even I haven't listened to the whole pod there yet, but Glenn Cronin was on LOI Central today talking about like their
He's
experience at
brilliant. He
Bowes.
was brilliant.
But I again, I didn't listen to it all. I just didn't time factor in that. But one of the bits I did hear was about the difficulty they felt they had in terms of getting players in so late. So like he hasn't had everything, easy. Don't get me wrong, and I do have sympathy for him for a lot of those reasons. But equally, you have to say he's now the plumber that can't fix your pipes. We may need a new plumber, and that's not an easy thing for me to say. But yeah, you have to believe. You have to believe. You can't go into any game thinking, "Oh
So
God,
there's
what happens here."
two questions. One is more of a statement to say, well, maybe this can be turned around. Uh, Rovers didn't win their first 7 last year and won the league. Understandably, before you jump, I know they were different players and setup, and they were potentially playing better. Maybe luck didn't go their way. So are we all jumping the gun very early,
But
and not
and just
giving
to
this
come in
time?
to come in on that, so the difference there is right, and they're on record. I even spoke to Lee Grace this year at the League of Ireland launch, and specifically spoke to him because obviously we were playing Rovers in the opening game, and obviously you're talking about that last year. I spoke to Rona Finn at the League of Ireland launch, who was obviously part of that last year. And what they would tell you, and what Stephen Bradley's on record as saying is, yeah, they took 7 games to get that win, but they were playing well. We
Yeah.
are not. We are not. There's no sign of anything there. Like sometimes you can play really well and you get the sucker punch or whatever. Or you just, maybe a keeper has an amazing night and you just don't score or whatever. Um, like even
Okay. Second, this continues. Are we getting relegated?
well, obviously if we can't score, we can't get points, and we can't get wins. We're obviously going to get relegated. That's needless to say. It's very early to say that yet, but like I see, and look again, I've spoken to a few players, and there's lads who don't want to be there right now. Like, and that's a problem. And unfortunately,
That's quite the
listen,
statement, boy. That's
I'm
quite the
I'm
statement.
not, but I'm not saying that the players are blameless in this. But football being football, it's usually management that sort of takes the fall.
Mm.
And I'm not, maybe that's not fair, but it is reality. And
Yeah, it's very easy, but for players to come out and go, I don't want to be here. This is shit. This, blah, 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 blah." Do your job, lad. Work harder. There's players like that I would have seen last night. Again, confidence is everything, but stand up, be a man, drag the game. You're being paid. Do better.
but
Do better.
again, be like being a realist about it, and I'm not like, I'm not saying that I don't, I'm not going to try and predict the future, but if you're say Brian Ainscough and you're looking around and you know Bowes made a decision, some would say early. That's
Very early.
right, okay, very early, and it's one game, but would they have beaten Derry last weekend? Had they still had Declan Devine in the dugout. And maybe we'll never know in truth, but you do sometimes get that new manager bounce, and that's what happened in Dalymount on Friday night won't be helping Stephen O'Donnell either, because you're only human if you look at that and say, Jesus, the lads made a change. All of a sudden, players who for whatever reason had been underperforming. I wouldn't claim to know the ins and outs of Bowes, but the results certainly weren't there. I wouldn't have been backing them to beat Derry, who were coming down in a bit of form,
Mm.
scoring goals. Who have an amazing away record. To be fair to them, in the last few seasons, Derry, I think they've had the best away record 2 years in a row. I wouldn't have been backing them to go to Dalymount and not win, or certainly to lose. But Bowes got the job done.
Yeah,
So
it's a conversation that, listen, I'm sure
you look at
chairmans are having it, but you know, just last night it just seemed dead, and even like Perry, even O'Donnell, like full time whistle went. He shook the hand of the other manager, and he just walked off on his own. And it was sad. And I don't know, was he like feeling it? Maybe this is the end. I don't know, but
Oh, it's
it's
definitely sad. Like, you know, there's a human element to all this, and it is, but you also have to say where where is it going? And listen, I hope to be proven wrong. I really, and I don't mean this saying like I want them to fail, because I definitely don't. I'd love if we went to Shelburne and won. I'd love if we won like Derby. I'd love if we beat Derry then after that, and Pats after that, and both after that. But I'm looking at those games and saying, where are we getting? Where are we getting the next point from? Where are we getting the win from? Whatever. Now, Waterford Friday was a little bit better, but if you're honest about it, it was probably two bad teams as well. Um,
yeah. And we
so
only drew.
I don't know, because there's no cannon fodder there. This year, with all due respect to UCD last year, and you know where you thought, well, their certs to go down. You know, and I know you made a statement on Sligo and slagging aside. You know, I'd rather be in Sligo shoes right now than the Dogs. You know, they've looked, if anything, difficult to beat and
Yeah.
whatever. You know, are they perfect? No, but you can see a bit of an identity about other teams, and we're struggling to see that about our own.
Yeah. Um, right. Well, they're all going to be very similar, but we are going to just have a quick look at the kind of comments anyway. But all our kind of comments and chats in that sense are in association with Malone Financial Insurances. Right, Chris Rogers said a change of management is needed. A change of management even is needed immediately. This can't go on. Terrible performance aren't going to help attract new investors. And Killian, a Bowes fan, said any possibility that O'Donnell wants to be sacked to be freed up for the Bowes job under his old pal Nutsy. Uh, Jason Kirk says serious question needed on recruitment. We let players go who scored the majority of our goals with no like for placements. Simon Cannon said, "Would a manager with the same performances but a different name still be in this job? How can effectively a third division team walk rings around the Dundalk team with Horgan and Championship loanee players? How much longer do we can this go on before an owner's going to make a change?" And lastly, Colin Mullen said, probably the same question everybody's asked: how long have we to put up with O'Donnell? So there's a general vibe that yeah, it's very much based all around the manager, and we've discussed this in the first 25 minutes anyway. It's a question that needs to be asked, and I'm sure Brian Ainscough and whether it's Peter Halpin, who CEO, like people are going to be having this discussion. There will be talks about it, and I suppose their experience hopefully will tell. They'll obviously be sitting down with them. Let's be honest, like every job has kind of monthly meetings, assessments anyway, and you know they get to see where they are. But um, it's just it's so interesting that you know when we come back, it's the next 3-4 games are just massive. Like it can't. I don't want to sit here and say that he needs to go now because I don't want that, because I like the guy and I'd always support kind of what he was doing. And I do think I even look back to his time at Pats and stuff, and he won an FAI Cup and he had good backing. Um, we talked about the players, definitely under the old um ownership. In my opinion, he was just, I'd like him to come out and maybe some stage have a chat about this, but like it would seem he could have been sold a dud. Like there's no way he would leave Pats for Dundalk to get no players, to get lads in all and last minute things. And sadly, with the mess up of the new ownership change and happened in late December again, anybody's that, and again, you referenced some of the lads last week that he tried to get, he couldn't get. So again, these guys are probably not his picks. And maybe somebody could come on and, challenge that as well. And maybe that's not how these things work. Maybe there's recruitment guys do that for him or something. I don't know. But it's like he hasn't been given a fair run of it. But however, ultimately, as you were saying in the plumbing reference, at some stage, you're a pro licensed coach that needs to put players in positions tactically mentally, confidence wise, everything together that can get you results. I think on our first episode and stuff when we were talking about when I was saying the Sligo were going down, I would have put us in anything from 6 to 8 essentially, and I was like, I don't care once we sort the stuff off the pitch, that the grand one. Like I never had a fear of going down, but like that is my fear. I don't think anything will happen between now and Shelbourne, but like if we go to Shelbourne and just lose 1 or 2 nil and just have like a drab performance and nothing happens and God, where do we go? Like this is I just don't even know what to say. I'm like
I
it's like
think like there. So stop. um, but no, it's look, there's no shame in going to Shelbourne and losing unless it's an absolute troubling or something, right? They're top of the table, they're playing well, they're well organised, they've a lot going for them. But he dare not lose to Loud Derby for me. Like I don't think there's a lot of fans have given up on him. We're struggling with it. I'm struggling with it. I know you're struggling with it, but there's a lot of fans give up on Stephen O'Donnell a long, long time ago. And if you lose that, you're in deep, deep trouble. Like that, to the point of probably no return. Um, because already, right? So the last time we had 2 points after 5 matches was 2021, and at this stage, Filippo Giovagnoli was gone, right? And we all know what happened that season, where it was a bit of a mess, and it was COVID and all the rest. But we definitely flirted with relegation, and we probably, on paper, far better squad and team. Certainly in terms of experience and know-how in the league, when you factor we still had the likes of McElhenney and Duffy and all those other players then. Um, the other previous time we had 2 points after 5 matches was 98-99, and we did get relegated that season. I think it took us 10 matches to get a win in that campaign. And that's sort of where we're trending right now. We're you know, we're I don't want to, say we're in a relegation battle before, like, too early, but we're bottom of the table, and we're playing the table toppers next. Now, maybe that's the perfect game we do turn it around, but I'd like to see the glass half full as much as anyone, but when you see the body language of the players, when you see the mood in the camp, when you, as I say, I've spoken to people who will tell you off the record of their sort of unhappiness. And listen, you're right in what you said. Maybe there's an attitude you should just get on with it, and you know, but people are human as well, and if you're not committed to something in terms of because your mood or whatever, then that's concerning, and it's hardly likely to build more cohesive sort of performances and better results and all that. But like, uh, you know, it's just so hard to see for me a way back from this. And that's not me calling for his head or anything like that, but I'm just being realist about it because I think there's too much has happened now where, even if we do go to Shells and win, it's just, kicking the can down the road a little bit because so many fans are sort of made their mind up now. Not the fans dictate it, but there's commercial reasons to sort of make decisions too at times, and it has to be weighing on people's minds because, as I say, if I went around Dundalk tomorrow and said €50, put it on the dog uh, to beat Shelbourne, or I'll give you 20, and you can just pocket it now. I'd say most people would take the 20 off me because even the biggest optimist right now, I don't think feels we can go there and get a result. And that's awful because football is that sort of game where, you know, we love it because there's shocks and upsets and you never really know what's happening. It's like we live the dream, and I mean, look, maybe we're spoiled by that period. I don't think that's why we're feeling the way we are now. But like, we went to Russia believing we could get something in, you know, uh, Holland and all these magical places, and it's now we're just, in isolation. Like even the Stephen Kenny teams went to Cove and lost. You know what I mean? Like but there's always bad results. There's always upsets. There's always poor performances. But this is this is just not one in isolation or even a bad week or whatever. It just looks disarray, and I think, yeah, I do. As I say, I do have sympathy for him for what happened. Um, and not to like, I mean, to be fair, just to briefly touch on the Waterford game, because I mean, we haven't really, like, there was a couple of small positives. That we did get our first clean sheet of the season. I thought, like, Louis Ansley was handed the captain armband. Thought he rose to it. It was very good. Zach Johnson came in and made his debut and was very good. Um, we had a big penalty appeal towards the end with Cameron Elliott. I know you thought it was Stonewall. I thought the referee got it right. Haven't looked at the replay. But there was almost a desperation to that appeal, and just this nervous attitude around the ground where, you know, if we go behind in a game, because, as much as we probably had the greater volume of chances, a lot of them were sort of long range shots and things like that, where Waterford in theory, Cammy Elliott had a big chance where he burst into the box, but Hammond had a great shot. It was a brilliant save by Defeat Monroe. Bagley had a big chance just before half time where he just took a heavy touch. Asamoah drilled one wide late enough on. So, you could nearly argue they were as likely to get the winner as we were. And even, and this is where I suppose you need to um, look at the sort of where we're going with this, because I looked at just, we're obviously struggling for goals at the minute. Like we think we're up to, I'm not even counting the Leinster Senior Cup here, but we're 449 minutes in the league without a goal now. We haven't scored a goal from play this season at all. And one of the players who probably look most likely to end that on Friday night was Sam Durrant. He was very lively, etc., and definitely a handful for Waterford. But like, I'm going to go through them all here, but like, if I made the comment, like, Durant did very well, and not to take away from him, but if I'm the number nine, I'm probably cursing him, because every time he got the ball, he just wanted to cut inside and shoot, which look nothing wrong with in theory. But if you look at Sam Durrant, and he's with us a couple of games, probably from the summer of last year and into this season, and okay, that was his first start on Friday. He hasn't got an assist for us yet. And in isolation, that's fine. And I'm not hammering Sam. He's been a good signing, I think, on the whole. But you go through our players. So, right, Ryan O'Kane, for example, he got 2 assists in the league last season. One, he was fouled for a penalty against Drogheda away, and the other was a corner for John Martin's header against UCD. You go to Darrell Hogan again, someone only came in midway through last season. He had 3 assists last season. The free kick cross for Hayden Muller's opener against Cork in the 5-0 win, and the other was the header across goal that Keane Coleman actually put into his own net in the same game. His other assist was the corner for Hogan's header in the 3-1 win over Drogheda. He's a technical assistant where he was fouled for the Cullen free kick up in Tala. And okay, these lads are some have gone now, but like John Martin, 1 assist last season. And I'm just using him as an example because he did play wide areas. 1 assist last season. It was for Hoban's 5th goal against UCD on the final day, and that was actually a shot to come back off the post to put away. Daniel Kelly, another who's now since gone, but 3 assists last season. Fair enough, he got the cross for Cammy Elliott's equaliser against Cork in May. He was fouled for Hoban's penalty in the 3-1 home defeat to Derry, and he had the cross for Hoban's opener, Hoban's the first of Hoban's goals in that 5-1 win away to UCD on the final day. Rayhan Tulloch, again, the player played over half a season for us. 1 assist last season for Conor Malley's winner away to Drogheda. And a lot of information there, but if you sum it up, right, very little from open play, virtually nothing from open play. Certainly not if the lad's still with us. And virtually nothing. I think Daniel Kelly's foul on him for the penalty that Hope had put away, like, to make it. We were 3-0 down. It was 90th minute. We made it 3-1. Was the only one against the top half side. Everything else from our wide players was coming from, in with all due respect, sides in the bottom half of the table, the likes of your Drogheda, UCDs, Corks. Um, when you review that, it's very difficult to be a striker in this team, and yeah, look, other people chip in, like Archie Davies obviously did really well last season. Hopen was immense, but like, you take someone like Cammy Elliott, who would probably never be a starter. Like, Elliott had 4 assists last year, which is more than any of those wide players, and that's the concern, because we do play with wide players last season and this season, and for whatever reason, the system ain't working because we're just not delivering. It's not like, to be fair to our strikers, I don't think it's that they're missing a great load of chances. This isn't like, the old days of Andy Cole, where they'd say, oh yeah, he has to get, 2 or 3 to score 1. I don't think it's not. If only that was our problem, we're just not getting chances though. And I don't want to put it all on the wide players. That's not what I'm doing here. But there's something breaking down here where we are struggling to create in wide areas, yet we put so much focus on our wide players. And yeah, look, the strikers will get hammered for not scoring, and that's their job. But, and I think I said it to you in an unrelated point last night, but Adam Eden was literally standing in front of us. I said, what, we could say to Adam here, there's a shirt, go on and play there the next half hour. I don't think it would have mattered, because we wouldn't have got the ball near him. And in that regard, it wasn't that. Obviously, Owen Kenny was a guy who led the line for most of last night. It wasn't that Owen was particularly bad or anything, but the service was zilch. So, these are all concerns. Yeah, it was a positive point, but I personally thought Waterford were a little poor. We didn't capitalise. And, again, with all due respect to the teams, if you look at what we've played, certainly at home so far, Waterford, Galway, Sligo, again, and maybe we'll be proven wrong on this, but teams you'd expect to be bottom half come the end. It's only going to get more difficult now when you have your, Shells and Derry and all that coming to Oriel Park. I know we're going to them next, but that they're the sort of fixtures you're going to have kind of coming up now, because you've played a lot of the bottom half sides at home. You haven't beaten any of them.
Yeah, right. Well, before we look ahead now to what lies ahead even after the international break, let's hear from our main sponsors, The Unit.
Today's episode is powered by The Unit, experts in building innovative products for the betting, iGaming, and sports industries. They're the brains behind building innovative products tailored for those who love the game as much as we do. From software that powers up the betting world to platforms that enhance how we engage with our favourite sports, The Unit is leading the charge. The Unit, a winning team that reminds me of the Kenny era Dundalk in their consistency and results. Proud sponsors of the Press Box podcast. Learn more at theunit.dev.
Right, so it's a busy week now after the internationals, with Shells away, as we were discussing now on Good Friday, followed by the Loud Derby, home to Drogheda, and then we also have, sadly, a trip away to face Derry. They're all 3 tough fixtures, as you said, but we're talking about internationals as well. You also broke the news yesterday that we actually have a new international in our squad.
Yeah, Sam Durant has been called up by Sri Lanka. I think his mom is Sri Lankan, so I believe it's a training camp, but I think they're down to play friendly ties against a couple of friendlies lined up this week. I think they've won on Thursday Friday actually, against Papua New Guinea, and then they play Bhutan on Monday. So I don't know if he'll play in either of them, but like, that would be a nice moment for him. Louis Yancey's obviously back in the Gibraltar squad. He missed a bit last year with just injury and one thing or another. They play Lithuania on Thursday, and then you've Kieran McLaughlin called up to the Northern Irish under-21s as well. They play Czechia in a friendly on Thursday, and then the UEFA under-21 championship qualifier against Serbia on Tuesday. So look, maybe a good performance at international can benefit Dundalk. We do have obviously a game against an unknown opposition in an unknown venue at an unknown time on an unknown day that I think is Friday. That is being kept very close to the chest of management. And again, you'd expect a lot of the players who didn't feature against St Mochta will be involved in that, but we won't get to analyze it, but I think we need something from that to click if we're to get anything from those 3 matches next week. Because look, you can only take the first one first, but like Shells away, we don't have a bad record against Shells over the years, but like they're absolutely flying. Like the table doesn't lie; it's top against bottom, and they're building a nice little fortress for themselves there. Brilliant start. Will Jarvis, I believe, is an absolute fire. I haven't actually seen them in the flesh myself, but Gavin Malloy, Paddy Barrett at the back, they don't give up much chances, and we're not creating too much. So all in all, it's probably not a good combo.
Yeah. Yeah, the thoughts of even talking about that. I think we're kind of so far away from that we kind of have to see out how the next few days go. But last week actually did a piece on the stuff off the field. Got a bit of kind of reaction. Some the rumor mill with Dundalk as well is always a wild thing that, like, sometimes again you're just being ultra negative when you're as far as I know you as well, you kind of just try to report facts and the off the field stuff that you reported on. It doesn't help that like it's falling apart on the pitch as well now. You know what I mean? Like, so because even like on a serious note, okay, so let's say there's finances in a negative with the club. Like, if God forbid we do pull the plug on O'Donnell and Padge or whoever, I've no idea what would happen in that sense, like, or who would take, but like, you're paying out more money as well. Like, and again, money's not exactly something that is coming easy to us in that sense. And so I don't know, what kind of reaction did you think you got with the piece in general? Because like, it was, to be fair, I know most people that I was talking to during the week, it was all to do with kind of the off the field kind of debts.
Very little to me personally, in that, like, no one really ringing you about it or complaining about it or anything like that, which I suppose tells its own story. Just um, it obviously was relatively accurate, because I think if it was inaccurate, you'd have complaints. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but you're sent a few things online and question marks about it, and just to clear some of them up, like I've seen a few people apparently say that it's hammering the club. Not at all, because I tried to be really positive, and to the point that I was walking out to the Mochtas game on Tuesday, listen, and actually, because I wouldn't listen back to the pod because obviously know what's in it, but did listen back, just it can be a good experience at sometimes, just to listen back to yourself to see what you're saying, if you're talking drivel or whatever. But I, I lost count of the amount of times I give credit to the club for different things they're doing, and okay, it's small steps undoubtedly, but they you know but just because there's good things going on doesn't mean the club's in a good place, and you know not trying to be sensationalist or anything about it. That wasn't the case. Like, seeing some people questioning, oh, there's no way we can get a points deduction for that. Well, I wouldn't claim to be an expert on footballing law or whatever, but you do make your phone calls about these, and this was what was informed me by someone who's a club official. So there's examples even as recently as January. I think Edinburgh City, who Robbie Mahan was on loan with before he came to us, they were docked, I think, 4, maybe 6 points, of somewhere between 4 and 6 points anyway, for unpaid amounts of money to players. And do like a lot of laws interpretation. If we lose the Sahibo case, does as I mentioned, bonuses not paid last year in relation to Europe, does that amount to an unpaid amount to players that we could be penalised for potentially? Because it is part of licensing that you're not supposed to get a license if you owe outstanding amounts to people. So that is a factor. I obviously hope it doesn't go that far, but I did say it was a worst case scenario. A couple of people, said to me, got a text from one guy, a really good fan, said, but sure, look, the European money's still to come. Well, again, that's not accurate. The European money came in last September. Again, confirmed this with an FAI source, confirmed this with a representative from another club, and all monies have been paid. So that money probably just kept the club afloat. But in terms of, are we waiting on the European money to come in? No, we're not. It's a bit like my hairline that's been and gone. So I think that's important to sort of clarify those things, because, like, if we had 550k on the way, Jesus, I wouldn't be at all as concerned as I potentially am. But that money is, it's not due to us. So I hope we're not waiting on it. So look, I don't want to keep dwelling on that, but I do think it's a very big part of our reality now. And I think, again, I know it's probably as critical as I've ever been of Stephen O'Donnell tonight, but it's in that environment that he has sort of come proper, I think, where, the messing, or I don't want to say messing, that's the wrong word, but the situation off the field has now caught up with us and having an impact on the field, because there's no doubt that he had different ambitions and was probably promised different things and wanted different players. Now, listen, no manager in the world gets probably every player they want, and we were actually watching Man United Liverpool the weekend. I think you were praising Endo and said he's been brilliant for them. And I think I replied, yeah, and he was like their 5th or 6th choice midfielder or something for that position, because I think everyone they originally wanted Chelsea just signed. So it's even at the very highest level of the game, that happens. You don't get everything you want, but and you have to adjust and adapt and whatever. But yeah, that sort of off the field scenario won't be helping anyone, and it certainly won't be helping. As I say, we did speak about the investors last week. Brian Ainscott's obviously coming in. He's still relatively new. We've a new CEO and Peter Halpin, and their task isn't helped by the cleanup operation, effectively, that has to go on.
Any word before we wrap up? You reference even the investors, and I don't know if you were chatting to Brian or anyone else regarding this. Any ideas of any figures or what the plans is with that sort of investment? Or
I didn't hear any more on that. I just, one thing I don't think Brian's even in the country at the moment, and didn't get any time to dig in on that. It's just this week between one thing and another, but I believe they are hopeful of more coming on board potentially next month. Which
I'd
would
say that's
again
a
be
hard sell now.
positive. I think Brian's, yeah, but like equally, look, maybe he buys stock when it's at its lowest or something, but like an investor shouldn't just look at how your first team's going, maybe. So we'll see. Look, I don't want to make promises on that because I don't know enough about it. It's just, I believe they're hopeful. Brian obviously hasn't said that himself. I haven't spoke to him about it, but I do believe he's due back in around Easter. So maybe there'd be an opportunity then to sort of tease that out a bit more. But look, anyone who wants to come in and put money into the club, within reason, obviously, but in theory should be welcomed, I think.
Yeah. Firstly, before I do kind of reference a few notes, we don't know if you guys are listening, hopefully, on whether it's on podcast now or YouTube format. There seems to be a delay in what we're talking about. So if there is any delays, we do apologize, whether maybe internet or something is acting up. But we will move on. Dundalk are going to host their Easter camp actually at Oriel Park again from April 2nd to 4th, from 10:30 to 1:30 each day. So the camp is open to boys and girls aged 6 to 13 and costs 50 quid per child. You can register at dundalkfc.com. Also, the Tie Wrap Gang are hosting a fundraising draw with lots of prizes, including a 4-star hotel break in Cork City, a boat trip around Cardwood Lock for 10 people, a 300 quid Zoom teeth whitening voucher, 2 Bruce Springsteen tickets, a ladies and gents Accurate watch, and a Crow Park Museum and tour ticket. The lines are on sale now from any member of the Tie Wrap Gang, and they're €5, and the draw is going to take place at their quiz night on Burrows of Hill Street on the 19th of April. So before we go as well, in association with Jerry McNamee Consultants, we're going to give a bit of an underage update. So you can fire on with that, boy.
Yeah, I suppose the highlight probably of the weekend was the men's under-20s claimed their first win of the season on Saturday. Conor O'Gorman, who came off the bench against St Mochta last night, he got a double to help them come from behind to beat Bray Wanderers 2-1 at Oriel. That was the only underage victory on Saturday, unfortunately, with the women's under-17s gone down 2-0 away to Drogheda United. The men's under-15s losing 3-0 at home to Shamrock Rovers, and the men's under-14s losing 4-0 away to Shelbourne. The women's under-19s did pick up their first win of the campaign on Sunday with a 2-0 victory at home to Peamount United, with Stephanie Cunningham and Misha Rooney on target. And on the same day, the men's under-17s drew 0-0 away to Drogheda. Less games this weekend, just with probably the international break or one thing or another. But on Friday night, the men's under-14s host Derry City at Oriel at 7:45, while on Saturday, the women's under-17s are at home to Shells at 2, while the men's under-15s are away to Drogheda at 12.
Well, that is that for us on the press box. And also, literally, just as I said about the signal, you've never sounded better all evening. Just as we wrap up, as you can imagine. We want to thank again our main sponsors, the unit, as well as our associate sponsors, Player Fit, Jerry McNamee Consultants, Malone Financial Services, and Mullins. And also, guys, as you know, we did launch on YouTube last week. So again, if you can go in and give it a subscribe, you'll get a notification to all the new episodes that come out as well. So listen, hopefully, I don't know, our next game that we can win or something. There's not a lot more to say, but so we're just going to leave it there. But have a good week, guys.